Hello and welcome back to Chair Shot Wrestling Podcast. I am Steve O'Mac. We are here from Moonlight Studios and I'm here, as always, with Deano D-Truth.
What's crack-a-lacking, Steve-O?
It's been another good week of wrestling. We got a lot to talk about.
And do you know what I'm happy about, Steve-O? I'll be honest with you, because you called me in the week and we chatted about it, and not in the week, yesterday, sorry, and you said how good SmackDown was, and then I couldn't wait to get home from work and finish it. And I thought, yeah, my broadcast partner this week, he's not going to shit all over WWE for once. As much as I do agree with him most of the time, I've still got that deep-rooted love for WWE, you know what I mean? And I don't want to be too negative about them, even though AEW's bringing out a better product in a minute. You know, I like to give props to WWE when I can, and I'm happy you're going to do that a bit this week, as I can tell.
Yeah, I'm in a bit more of a positive mood this week, I think, about both companies. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. Last week, right, AEW just gave them a pasting, mate. When you compared the two shows and what we got with Clash in Italy and then the Monday night, AEW gave them a pasting.
They just seem to go above and beyond.
Every week is a new week in wrestling. I guess that's the beauty of it, right? Every week's a new week. It's a chance to redeem yourself. It's a chance to give us something a little bit fresh and get us talking and get us looking forward to, to the summer of wrestling. All right. So, what are we going to kick off with? Wednesday night Dynamite.
I think we should, because we won this in order, and we didn't have any AEW to talk about on our last episode.
That is true.
We should start with AEW. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Wednesday night Dynamite. I feel like I'm saying this on repeat at the minute, but every week they just seem to be putting on solid, consistent shows, right? And there's always one or two matches that are just absolute bangers.
Can I just interrupt you? Because what I've got to say is, it started off like with a bang. Like, it come out, and then we had the AEW World Championship match. We knew to look forward to, so we're always going to tune in and watch that. But Roos is going against MJF, and Roos, I thought, I've never seen it before, but I thought he'd give a solid promo before MJF eventually come out and interrupted him, in these, get a mess with the ball, get the horns. And then he come out, the MJF, and come out as cool as a cucumber as well. He said, that makes me the matador then, yeah? And he give him the bitch slap. And then all of a sudden you're like, shit, it's on already. And, it's already action. And then it's like, then you get the announcement that they're going to kick off AEW with the match. And then what does MJF come doing in shithead, heel fashion? Where he comes out dressed as a matador. And not only that, calls everyone in the crowd in Virginia that I made your hometown hero, the cowboy himself. He can't challenge for the title for you, Adam Page. And also, you're all a bunch of virgins like that, because how you put the virgin in Virginia. And I thought, this guy with the middle fingers up, and I thought, that is my guy right there, He's just got that heat straight away, you know what I mean? Before the bell's even rung, everyone's red hot, wants to boo him and that, or they even want to boo him, or they're like, oh, that's my guy there, like I am. Because even if it was my hometown, I'm a London boy originally, and he's slagging off London, I just think it'd be fucking hilarious still, do you know what I mean? Because I just think he's great. I mean, I can take a joke as well. Yeah.
Brilliant start to the show. And
Dynamite start to the show, some might say.
A dynamite start to Dynamite. MJF is so good at this, right? There's always a risk, and we spoke about this with WWE last week about their heels sort of still getting cheered when they come out, and this thing of like, wow, they really, they're really gaining heat. He just shuts everyone down. He don't give it. There might be people in that crowd that are ready to chant MJF, and he just shuts them off in the best way possible.
He's mini Flair.
Great.
He's mini Flair, isn't he? He's mini Flair. Ric Flair, in the territory days, he'd be coming out in these fine fucking custom suits with all the hot women, but then he'd come out and say he's going to steal your girlfriend at the Marriott later on, and he's mini Flair, isn't he? We keep saying it. He's mini Flair.
Yeah.
And he's there's never been another Flair in 40, 50 years since Flair debuted, about 60 years ago now, isn't it? There's never been another Flair, in my opinion, that someone has had that charisma, and he just is mini Flair, isn't he? There's been people you compare, but he's like sort of, I know Flair's still alive, but he's like Ric Flair reincarnated. I think you need to check you need to check where MJF's like mum was when she could see where Ric Flair was that night if he was in that town. Because I don't know, like for me, he seems like the son of Ric Flair. Silent profile. Woo, baby! Bring your girlfriends. 18 to 25 only, no boyfriends.
I mean, you could that. What a story that could be for the future.
I'll be honest with you. I think
the bastard child.
I think MJF's mum definitely rode Spaceman in that night. You know. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. And look, and it was a bit of it's unusual, right? Because Roosh is sort of a heel, but he's becoming a bit of a face just through coming out there and beating people, really. And the crowd just going, oh, we like what you're doing. You're coming out and you're smashing people. And we'll cheer for that because, that's good wrestling.
He's a good look as well for a wrestler. He reminds me of that sort of like 90s wrestler, like he's got like the gimmick of the ball, he reminds me of like sort of
very
he would fit in with Vince McMahon. If he met Vince McMahon in the 90s and he was as he was now, I think Vince McMahon would be excited about his wrestler.
It's that Latino heat he's got, isn't it? I liked about it though,
or El Matador himself, Tito. You know what I mean? So he reminds me of Tito Santana's build a little bit.
Yeah. Even if it is like a sort of a heel versus heel match, it still makes sense because MJF's got this bit of history where he takes the piss out of Mexican wrestlers and he takes the piss out of Mexican culture. He done it in a sort of a mini feud that he had with I want to say Mystico,
which was Sin Cara and WWE's Mystico.
Yeah, when they done the.
I mean, I obviously remember Sin Cara, but I think he's Mystico now. He's booking. He never really fit in WWE, did he? You know what I mean? He never made it to the heights in WWE. He weren't their guy, but apparently, I don't obviously follow AAA and that, but apparently, he's a big
massive.
Deal.
I think he is the. He is the Mexican legend. And when they had a banger of a match at Grand Slam Mexico last year.
Didn't he come out with the full like stars and stripes, like American like gear? Didn't
I think he did.
It's great.
He did do that.
And
again, because Max has done that more than once, it sort of it was fitting then that this is again a one night feud.
Yeah,
brilliant. And what a match! I don't know whether you picked up on this, or I don't even know whether you was aware of this, but did you pick up on the selling of the shoulder from Roosh? So, there was a spot where it looked like he'd pulled his shoulder out, and then he went over to the ring post and he popped it back in, and then they played on that for the rest of it. And that led to the finish of him, he got him in the crossface and then passed out.
It's another story again, isn't it? It's like we talk about every week about, obviously you want to keep MJF strong because he's the champ and you want him to win, but then you also want, this Roos who's like a character for the future to look strong and not look weak. You're losing and you ruin his character as well. Isn't that smart? Pat Patterson was the one for that, weren't he? Like he'd always have the great finishes where he'd sort of make it look like, well, he won, but he had the odds stacked up against him and that. It's clever booking, isn't it? Because then both wrestlers then are looking strong. So you've got MJF, your current champ, strong week in, week out, but then you've got Roos in the future, you know what I mean? If you want to push him.
He's still quite young as well.
Yeah, mate. Yeah. I don't hate him. I think this ball's, but get the best of the ball, you get the Holmes gimmick. It's a little bit cheesy, but hey, you know what I mean? Like that. It's classic. I did like that El Matador, though, when he came out in the Matador gear. I'm not gonna lie. It was quality, wasn't it? It's such an MJF thing to do, wasn't it? Like, yeah.
And I don't know whether you was aware of this, but with that shoulder selling spot, it sort of rewards long-term fans of AEW. He actually did that for real in a match last year where he did pull his shoulder out and he did pop it back in, for real. It was a genuine injury. So it was kind of like the fact that they done that spot was just retelling a story of something that had already happened. And then, as you say, it made him look really strong at the finish. Although he's passed out, he hasn't tapped out, he hasn't been pinned. He's passed out because he genuinely popped his shoulder out, or kayfabe in this match, popped his shoulder out. Makes sense to me. Great match, loved it. Another notch on Max's belt, and set it up really nice because, no sooner as that match finished, MJF again, he's got the belt, isn't he? He's lining him up. He's going to do him. He's going to smash him. Who comes down? Mark Briscoe.
And he's had this is long story building because him and Mark Briscoe have sort of had an on-off feud for a good year or so now, hasn't it? It's sort of been MJF and the Mark Briscoe. He's took the PSL, he's a redneck man, all stuff like that. He calls him a hit.
Really liking Mark Briscoe.
Yeah, I'm liking Mark Briscoe. The Briscoe brothers were such a storied tag team, and I think obviously people sympathise with him because I think people want him. Obviously, he helps. He's a great wrestler and that, but who wouldn't want to sympathise with a guy? I could talk firsthand. A guy lost his brother, and he's doing really well for himself. Who doesn't want a guy like that? Because there's two ways. I could tell you that there's two ways people can go when a tragedy like that happens. You can go one way or the other, and he's thriving and doing well. And I think most people, genuine people, would want him to do well. So I think Tony Khan's picking up on that. I'm not saying that's the sole reason, because I think he's a great wrestler. He's got a great. I didn't realise what a phenomenal promo that was as well. The promo was phenomenal, wasn't it? It was from the heart though, wasn't it? You could tell that weren't right. That weren't scripted. He went off the heart there. That's what he felt, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was beautiful, and me personally, what I've gone through in my life, it resonated with me, And I just said, yeah, it was phenomenal, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. I don't think he's going to win the title, but I think maybe a solid pay-per-view match, maybe a match that favours him as well with the street fight and stuff, because we definitely know MJF, and we definitely know after the Hangman stuff, he can definitely hang with the the brutal style.
I don't think this match is going to be like a no DQ match. I think they might just have more of a pure wrestling match, because they done that before. They done that towards the end of last year, where they had it was like a thumbtacks and tables match or something like that. It was a weird match, but again, it was quite brutal, and Briscoe got the win. So it makes perfect sense for him to say, "I deserve a shot." Right? Why not? You're not just giving a title shot away. He has a claim to saying, "Well, I've got a victory over you. Like, I should get a shot."
Yeah.
So
he's got a solid singles record as well, hasn't he?
And it's a great little kind of hold-in feud while we wait to finish off the Owen, and then we're going to get the big feud. That's if MJF is still the champion going into All in Wembley. But you need a few weeks as a bit of a holder spot, don't you?
I think sorry to interrupt. I think it needs to be MJF for the title though, because obviously, they've built up all this heat and that, and he's still got the heat with MJF. So I think, if Omega or someone like that, or Ospreay was to win it, and then Mark Briscoe was to challenge them, it wouldn't have the same feel for me.
MJF will definitely have the belt for that Briscoe match.
Yeah.
What I mean is there could be another match following that where there's a title change. We don't know yet. I mean, things are just moving so fast in AEW at the minute.
Yeah.
That literally, what we now 11 weeks. But 11 weeks is a long time in AEW. In WWE, 11 weeks just feels like that's the norm for them. We might get a couple of promos, you might get a couple of brawls, you might get one DQ match, and they'll stretch that for 11 weeks. But AEW they just seem to just be going, no, let's tell a story, 2 week story, 2 week story, 2 week story. And then I think they will have a longer build. I think they'll have a good 4 or 5 weeks building up to Wembley, maybe even 6 weeks. Because I think the main event should be on the card 6 weeks before.
We've got Forbidden Door coming up, haven't we? That's about 3 weeks. That's 3 weeks today.
And there's a new one as well, which I didn't even know about. I think it's another one they're running in Canada called Redemption. So there's actually 2 pay-per-views before Wembley All In.
Yeah.
Anything goes.
Do you know what's weird for me now? I don't get how Forbidden Door's going to work, because before it was like the Japanese wrestlers coming over and we're having these dream matches, but now a lot of the big Japanese wrestlers are already wrestling on, because when they first done the first one, was it 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago? First Forbidden Door, you had Ospreay, and you had Okada, and you had all them boys. And it was like, but now Okada and Ospreay, they're top stars in Japan, are fighting already on AEW every week. Yeah. So I don't know how that's going to work unless, but then again, we don't really follow the Japanese wrestling, do we? So there might be some big stars.
I think someone's just bought out New Japan Wrestling as well. So we don't know what the effect that's going to have on it. I think there's going to be less and less, because like you say, they've got less and less top stars because they've all made the move to AEW or gone over to NXT and places like that. So it is harder and harder to find these dream matches.
Yeah. I think it's getting so popular now that, these stars do become so big, like, you know, and then they want, you know, they want the big money moves and like to America and that, you know. But no, we'll see. Do you know what would have been useful if Tony Khan would have done? He's saying they could do in the future. Because he owns Ring of Honor, and Ring of Honor have got quite the wrestling thing. So maybe if he done like a sort of, you know, like they used to do back in the day, WWE Survivor Series, you have Raw against SmackDown. Maybe if you had like Forbidden Door, but then you had like the Ring of Honor World Champ against like the AEW World Champ in like champ versus champ match, and you had the Ring of Honor Tag Champs against the AEW tag, and you had like a bit of, then you had a 5 against 5 match. That'd be a cool storyline booking, wouldn't it? Because I know obviously like he owns both, doesn't he, Tony Khan, and he does try and keep it a little bit separate with the champions and that, don't they?
I think they're looking to try and use the
they'll definitely elevate Ring of Honor in my opinion as well.
CMLL, probably more than the Japanese ones. I think there's probably more dream matches with the Mexican wrestlers and AEW wrestlers than there are now the Japanese ones. It's just the way it's gone, isn't it? I mean, what can you do when you get a chance to sign a talent like Ospreay, you get a chance to sign an Okada. You ain't turning that way.
Not being funny as well.
You ain't turning that way.
I'm not being funny as well. Like, look at the EVPs, the people that helped build AEW with him, you know, the Omegas, the Young Bucks. They're their buddies, aren't they? They're buddies. Jericho, they've all been out there. But, you know, like Jericho was there, you know what I mean? And he had a couple of matches. But, you know, Omega and the Young Bucks, they're like royalty in Japan. That's why they're going to bring all their friends over, aren't they? You know what I mean? They've got such a pull there.
Just before we come back to the Forbidden Door bit, quick question. What do you think of Lio Rush? Lio Rush, he had the match with Briscoe.
I like his character. I like his character, and I thought this like you know a couple of months ago when he was in WWE and AEW had just signed him. I couldn't stand him in WWE. Like I just thought he was like just a generic, like just a small man. He couldn't. He tried to do like the high flying stuff, but he weren't as good as the other high flyers. He weren't as good as anywhere near like some of the other talents we've had. When you've got like when you had in WWE, you know, you got Penta and that now, and you know like Dragon Lee in WWE, and like AEW got all these, you know, the Young Bucks, some of the stuff they do. He was nothing special, and he was trying to be like that. And like I think he needed to go back to the well, as JR used to say, and just sort of like think about his character. And like, yeah, I really think, yeah, it's definitely he's not going to be world champion, is he? But he's an interesting character. He's an interesting
creepy,
character.
He's creepy to look
But then again, you know, like. When I was a kid, I used to love the Boogeyman on WWE. You know what I mean? And he reminds you, he's probably trying like a bit of that Boogeyman character, isn't he? Or Gangrel. You know, Gangrel was never world champion, but you know, I loved all the vampire stuff and the theme, the brew. I loved all that, you know. So maybe he's that kind of filler character, you know, like that makes sense. Like, you look forward to seeing what Gangrel was doing every week, didn't you?
Yeah. It's the little bit of sports entertainment part of AEW.
Yeah.
Perhaps they missed for a few years. You know, it did get a bit serious, and the wrestling's great. And don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want to change any part of the way that they run their wrestling matches because I love it. But you do need a little bit of light-heartedness.
Let me up, so let me up.
I think what they're going to do with him is he might just be one of these characters that just gets beat week after week after week, and then gradually he might just get a little bit closer and a little bit closer. And I think eventually he'll get a win against someone. I can't quite work out who it will be, but I think there will be a build to him getting a victory against someone, and then when that happens, I think the crowd will go nuts. He's over already. He's over already. The crowd are cheering him. It didn't take long, but he is weird to look at. And the way he moves around the ring, he's a bit like an alien.
He's got like the green paint. He's got like the green paint in his mouth. He's like a sort of leprechaun. I don't know. It's weird. Yeah.
Like, and he's got like this sort of split personality.
He plays the character really. He plays the character really well. I think though. He's got great acting jobs, isn't he? Like, yeah.
I think they go with it and
I like it.
See where it takes.
Look, it's a bit of comedy in it. Like it's a bit of that, and like that's why we got interested in it. It's the variety of it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to watch as much as like you said. I enjoyed a good matches in AEW. I wouldn't want to watch banger after banger after banger and nothing in between. You know, so it's just like
you need a breather. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's exhausting.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a fun match. I thought it was a fun match, and I enjoy watching a Lio Rush match once a week now.
Yeah, I do.
Just want to see, you know.
Which before I wanted to, you know, that's when I'm going to go to the toilet or make myself a drink or something. You know what I mean? Like it was, you know, was it they call him a popcorn match, isn't it? Like, you know, in the WWE, JR used to say. Yeah, but no. What about? We've got to get onto it. Our boy again, Moxley. You know what I mean? He was just.
Could we leave that for 5?
Yeah, of course we can.
I've just got a couple of things that I just want to brush through.
I'm getting too eager again, aren't I?
Yeah.
It always happens, doesn't it? I get excited.
I just love Mox. I'm itching to talk about it myself, but I'm going to resist it because there's a couple of things I just want to breeze through. First thing is, the thing with Tekla just made me laugh. She is a nutcase. There's not a lot going on in the women's scene, and you can really see how they've massively missed your girl, Toni Storm.
Oh, you know, I'm happy
massively missed Toni.
I'm happy to see because obviously the next women's match, Mercedes Monet's back, isn't she?
Yes,
and that's going to be a big. That's going to be a big pick me up because Sasha Banks, Mercedes Monet, she's a fantastic wrestler. To be honest with you, last year I got a bit sick of her because this Mercedes Monet belts thing was just like, it got to the point me, it was just getting a bit too tedious, and it was just like she was winning and it was just her every week. No one ever beat her. But now I think, I was quite excited to see her character. It weren't my girl Toni. I wish it was Toni Storm, just because Toni Storm for me is just the greatest thing in women's wrestling. Now and probably ever, I remember that I ever got excited about women's wrestling, to be honest. You know what I mean? I just think she's fantastic. She's probably my favourite women's wrestler ever, to be honest. Obviously I like Lita and that back in the day. It was a bit different. The character works just this phenomenal with Luther and that. I don't know, I just absolutely love it. It's all the sexual innuendos, and she just plays that character. She's such a good character, isn't she? In it, and she's a great wrestler, and she has this unique moveset, didn't she? She's a very clever wrestler. She's done some great things where he was which even for even if if anyone done it, women or men, you'd be like, wow, but it's so impressive because no offense, you don't normally see all that stuff from women's wrestling, but it was great. It's great to watch. But like I said, Mercedes Monet is a big shot in the arm for him.
Yeah. I like Tekla, but she hasn't really had the people around her, I think, to elevate her character. And now she's got to go into, like you were just saying about Forbidden Door. She's got to go into Forbidden Door. The chances are she's going to be fighting someone from Stardom, which is a Japanese promotion. But what they've been sort of clever about, or maybe it's been purely by luck, is that there is this true story that she was at Stardom and she did get into an argument with the owner or the CEO or whoever it was, and she got fired from Stardom. So they're now using this thing of the fact that she hates Stardom, she got fired from Stardom as a bit of a real sort of storyline. And I don't know whether you caught it, but she in her promo that she cut, she climbed up on the ladder, and they had the Forbidden Door branding, and they had the Stardom branding on there, and she climbed up the ladder and just spat on the Stardom sign.
I missed that. That sounds
it was one of them that
I must have missed that.
It was we don't normally get that. That's a company that's coming in that Tony Khan's doing deals with, and she's up there just going, right, this is what I think of Stardom.
I wonder if they knew that was coming, Stardom. You know what I mean? That's the thing.
I reckon he must have warned them. But again, it sort of makes sense. I don't know who she's going to fight. And even when they announce it, I doubtful that I'm going to actually know the wrestler. But at least it gives a little bit of something to a story, which, as I say, in the women's world title picture has definitely lapped the top stars. So they're doing the best that they can. And Mercedes coming back is going to...
Huge shot in the arm. Like I said before, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but huge shot in the arm. Like you said, it needed it, didn't it?
Yeah. Okay. So we've spoken about Mercedes. Do you think she's going to win the Owen? I can see her winning the Owen.
Yeah, she's just head and shoulders, isn't she, above the talent. And to be fair as well, now they've given her a bit of a break and she's been away for a few months. I think people are happy to see her again, like I was, and people want to see her win again.
Yeah.
So I think, Tony Khan definitely done the right thing there. Definitely, yeah.
Well, I can't really see anyone else within that tournament.
Should have been my girl Tony. They should have imagine if they brought them both back and it was them two in the final. That would have been a match.
I think that that could have been what they would have hoped for, but mate, if it is an injury, they've got to wait for that to properly heal, I guess, before they can get her back in the picture. They don't want to rush her back and then risk her repeating something.
Not only that, long time storyline. It's like I'm assuming it's the same. You win the women's Owen tournament. It's the same. You get a future title shot.
Well, you get the title shot at All In.
So what if then? Tony needs a little bit more time off. Sasha Banks, Mercedes Monet, sorry, she's called now. goes on, wins the Owen, wins the title all in. And then the only one that, Mercedes Moné didn't beat, because she beat everyone, didn't she? On that run when she win the belt. You remember she had the match against Tony Stormac, and Tony for the women's title, the main belt that she couldn't win, and Tony beat her. So maybe then, like in the future, Tony comes back to challenge, and it's an exciting match because maybe then Mercedes gets to win, and they're 1-1, and that goes. Maybe that would make sense to me. That's future storytelling, definitely, isn't it? Like that. That's an exciting. To be fair, I'm not being ignorant or anything. I'm not like against it, but I don't usually look forward to women's stuff. I definitely watch it, but I don't like. Sometimes I do. But if that happened and it was, Mercedes and Tony challenging for the title, I'll get excited to watch that match to see what's going to happen. That'd be one of the matches I was proper looking forward to on the pay-per-view, definitely.
And Mercedes Moné, having done the belt collector gimmick for the past 2 years, she's now lost every title. Weirdly enough, apart from the Owen, because you do sort of get a belt. She did used to carry a belt for the Owen, and she is the current holder of that. So it's almost like it does sort of work for me. She's come back. That's the only title.
Oh, yeah, they do get the title, don't they?
Yes, it's the only one she still holds. So straight away, she's got the belt. She's carrying that.
Yeah.
So she's still got a little bit of that, like, I've got a belt. But the one belt that she didn't get, as you said, was the AEW World Championship. She collected all the others. So I still feel there is that story to tell, that she's had all the others, but really she'd be satisfied just with having the one. So we'll see how that.
Do you know what? I've got to go off on a tangent here. He's just reminding me of saying, do you know what I did love? And it made him look so strong to go up against Moxley, is when Hangman won the Owen and they give it to him and he said, this belt's great and I've got a lot of respect for it. He said, but I can't defend this title, so I'm going to hand this back over because I'm going for the AEW World title. Do you remember that promo? And I thought that was cold, and that was like saying he's fully focused, I always like that. That was great storytelling.
Yeah, very good. Another quick one then, before we move into Mox.
Yeah.
It's my favourite thing at the minute to talk about.
And Ospreay, what I mean? They're just great, both of them, aren't they?
Really quick one. Tommaso Ciampa taking on Chris Jericho's gimmicks.
My boy right here, raw as Jericho, baby. You know what I mean? I say,
I made it up.
My boy,
I've got to get that in for Dino.
But, Tommaso Ciampa, to be fair, he's always had potential, and Triple H sort of handpicked him a little bit. He always, because I remember he honoured it. He was one of Triple H's boys. I remember when Triple H retired, he honoured him doing the he come out with a water bottle, and done the thing, and he always honoured him. But for me, he's good, but he needs to get to that next level. And who's better to get you to that next level, not just in ring work, wrestling, and teach you to do a few new things that you've never done before? Because Jericho, there's nothing that man don't know. Also, the promo work. There's not a lot of people better than Chris Jericho. He's top 5 in the world, to teach you the promo work. So what a dancing partner he's going to have in Chris Jericho. And Chris Jericho, he's not going to be scared to put Tommaso over. He's not one of these egocentral, like one of the best to ever do it, is he? That's going to I must win, and he must be put over. He ain't going to be scared to make a fool out of him and get beat, because he's that guy and he understands how the business works, doesn't he? So he's going to definitely make Tommaso look as strong as he can. But Jericho's on his retirement tour, and he's hiss when they went on their farewell tour, all 20 of them, you know what I mean? Like that, he's gonna for a year, he's gonna be putting people over because he knows that's the right thing to do on the way out. You know what I mean? A bit like Cena did with Gunther and that, but he's definitely going to put over Tommaso strong, and he's going to teach Tommaso a thing or two for the future and make him even better. So, it's definitely a great pairing, in my opinion. What did you think?
I think it's a clever move, because when Jericho first came back, one of the first things that he did was to dabble with a couple of his old WWE gimmicks, didn't he? Because he'd done the list.
Yeah.
Do you remember on the first?
You just made the list.
Exactly, on the first. But I always fear with Jericho that there's a lot of people that sort of they've had enough of him, and they don't want to see him on TV every week just doing the same thing. So I actually think
he is, though. I think they're making him relevant.
No, that's not saying. I think they're being clever, because by having Ciampa go through his old gimmicks, it allows that. It still allows that nostalgia pop, but without the Jericho haters getting on board, if you know what I mean. So I don't know, because I think there was two gimmicks that he that he did this week. So he Do you remember when Jericho did the 1004 holds?
Yeah, of course. Dean Malenko. It was great, yeah.
So did you catch Ciampa doing the 1004 reasons why I hate Chris Jericho?
No, I didn't see that.
So
you've
got to go back and watch that.
Was that on Collision or was that not?
It might have been on.
That's maybe what I'm saying. I don't watch
on a Collision.
I don't watch Collision week in, week out. I'll apologise. I don't have the time. I wish I did. You know what I mean? I'm a busy man myself with work, and I watch Dynamite every week, watch SmackDown, Raw, but I just, sometimes a Collision gets lost in the shuffle for me.
But he done it exactly the same way. He started reading out a few.
Well, because you know what Chris Jericho done with that, didn't you? He's going armbar and he's saying all these holds. And I think he got up into double, he's in his 20s digits. Yeah. And then he's sort of gone in and, it's in New York. And he said that he insulted every single New York sports team, basketball, baseball, football, American football, sorry. And then the crowd are going mental, throwing rubbish in the ring. And he goes, hold number 700, and he just made it look like the whole, for that time as well, he's been just rattling out holds. It was great, and they're bored with that. That's what I mean. It was such a clever thing. And, probably Tommaso, as a fan of wrestling, probably watched that as a kid, you know what I mean? And now you got inspiration from that. And he probably loved doing it to Jericho, He done the same thing. And then he got some jobber and he got them in the walls of Jericho. So I like where they're going with this. And they haven't even cut a promo together yet. But I think once they start having a promo where they're both on it, he could really take off. I've got a good question for you now.
And
this is a great question, I think, and this is going to get your brain working. So we keep talking about, the potential, because we're so excited to go and see All In at Wembley. We've got our tickets, and I'm just like, who potentially? Because you got to think of someone who's not quite at the main event, top guy level, but is a future top guy. Who does Chris Jericho fight at All In?
Ooh.
Because you've got this Tampa feud's going to last a month, maybe 2 months max, and then it's not going to go all the way to All In because All In's nearly 3 months away. And then they're going to build something else. Who? And I've got a good answer for this. Who does Chris Jericho face?
Wow, man. I sort of dabbled with fantasy booking Chris Jericho's sort of the end of his career, but I don't think we're going to be there at All In Wembley. I think he's going to go way beyond that. So I don't think this is going to happen. But I would like to see him have a feud with Sammy Guevara actually, and bring Sammy back into the main picture, back into that kind of upper mid card. Maybe have a bit of a get the,
I like that
because
your friend. Yeah.
But ultimately, Sammy stabs him in the back because Sammy's got to get ahead. He's got his career ahead of him, and Jericho's done. But I think Wembley would be too early. I think that could be the following year.
Do you want to read this? Because you're going to love it. You're going to love this booking, right?
Come on.
Who is one of Chris Jericho's best friends in AEW at wrestling that he's known for donkey's years? And I'll give you a clue. They're both Canadians, and he's not an active wrestler at the minute. And who's one of his best friends? Do you know this? Because I know this. Don Callis is one of Chris Jericho's absolute best friends.
So I've had a little bit of a...
Yeah. So I think... a
bit of a thing before.
So I think, how cool of a feud would this be where Don Callis tries to recruit Chris Jericho, says, look, I want you in the family because I want your knowledge and I want you to teach some of my young guys. And Chris Jericho goes to do it, and then he turns and goes, no, I'm not doing that. Kyle Fletcher against Chris Jericho at All In. And I just think because Kyle Fletcher, for me, he's teetering. He's not quite a top level guy at the minute, challenging for the title every week, but he's teetering for me because he's got all the credentials to be one of the top guys. I think you have a feud, with the Don Callis family, and who at the minute is all over Chris Jericho and their friends, the Hurt Business. So you have the Hurt Business, you have the Don Callis family week in, week out. It's Kyle Fletcher. It's got to be Kyle Fletcher against Chris Jericho week in, week out. And Don Callis and him, I've always hated you, Don. You're a little prick. You've always been a little prick, and he's like, I've known you since, the 90s in Stampede Wrestling and stuff like that, And then it's this. And then, like, every week he's getting his ass kicked by multiple members of the family. Who comes out? We Hurt people. We Hurt. Then the Hurt Business comes out, backs Chris Jericho, and they're in Chris Jericho's corner. And, you know, they have a few 6-man tags on the way there, you know what I mean? And then, like, you know, I just think what a phenomenal, like, storyline that could be. And Carl Fletcher, what a marquee match, Carl Fletcher.
I like the idea.
And you know Jericho,
Fletcher.
and you know Carl Fletcher in 10 years is going to be a top guy if he's not already there. And he's going to be, he's got the potential to go down as one of the greats, you know, like you know what I mean? I think he has said too loosely, but definitely someone to be remembered. And I think Chris Jericho's, as a smart guy who knows the business, it's going to be interesting that, because Chris Jericho is going to want to be the guy in 10 years sitting there with his grandkids going, I've wrestled that man. You know that Chris Jericho's going to want that. He's going to say, I've wrestled him. He's going to rattle off the list. Yeah. So Chris Jericho's going to be eager to wrestle Carl Fletcher, in my opinion. You've got the storyline with Don Callis and him when they've known each other since, like, you know, they're probably their early days in wrestling. You know, I think I don't know if it was Stampede, but definitely WWE. They knew each other, and like probably the Canadian independent scene. But then you've got the Hurt Business, who's pally with Jericho at the minute. They helped him out, and they was in the Stadium Stampede match. You have the Hurt Business and Jericho going up against the Don Callis family. I think that is just like, and who knows, even Sammy Guevara could get involved if he ain't doing nothing in a minute. I mean, it might not be, maybe it could be Carl Fletcher and Chris Jericho, like at the pay-per-view before that. And then we have a big 5-on-5 match or something with Don Callis, you know, with MVP. How cool would that be? You've got like these great wrestlers, you've got Shelton and Bobby and Jericho, and on the other side you've got Okada and that, and like Carl Fletcher on one side, and then as the managers you've got MVP one side and Don Callis one side. You can imagine in their suits how cool that's going to be. It just sells itself for me. You know what I mean?
I'd quite like to see something with the Hurt Syndicate and the Don Callis family.
Yeah,
I'm going to break your heart a little bit here, though, Dino, because, and I will go back and I'll show you the promo, but I think when you had your lapse where you stopped watching AEW, they actually already did a storyline with Jericho and Don Callis where he tried to recruit him. And he went through.
That's why my lapse. See, I know, don't I?
Don Callis went through a phase where he used to do these paintings, right? So it was like he made it out like, oh, I've done this masterpiece painting. I'm going to unveil it. I'll show you. It's a really. I'm going
to need to go back and watch that.
It was a good storyline, but it didn't involve the same people. It didn't involve the Hurt Syndicate. It didn't involve.
No, I mean there's still hope. Fletcher. But I just think I didn't know that, but I think it's still, even though
it's a good idea. I'd definitely like to see MVP do something with Don Callis. I think there's a promo in there.
They both look like mafia bosses, didn't they, on either side of the ring? You know what I mean? Like that's the thing, you know. Yeah. Tony Soprano kind of characters, both of them, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Actually, you going through like the sort of the factions that we've got, the Hurt Syndicate and the Don Callis family, that will tie in really nicely with the stuff that we're going to talk about with Mox next.
The Death Riders. Right,
I'm just going to say, right, another absolutely superb promo from Jon Moxley. Every week, this guy never fails to cut a promo that I am just sitting there glued to it, just listening to every single word he says in detail.
You know what? He even brought up
super.
He even brought up, because we were saying it, you know, about the Mark. You know, I like the Mark Davis thing when he said, "Look, you know, you hurt your neck before, and you know, you need to drop that now, and you need to forget about it because you're that bird of prey, and you need to like." I just thought that was phenomenal. You know, that pep talk, and it's sort of like. Now you're like, even though like as an Ospreay fan, there's probably fans that like, why are you fucking going with him? You know, he done this to you, he done that to you. But now it's making sense why Ospreay wanted to go with him, you know, because he's adding that tenacity to him. And he looked very tenacious in the match, didn't he? He looked like he was a bit gritty in it, wasn't he? He weren't the Ospreay we knew of old with all like trying to please the crowd all the time, high flying stuff. And you know what's got the entrance again, we mentioned it, they're definitely rolling into this Assassin's Creed thing, and it looks like very Assassin's Creed when he comes out.
Could well be. And just after he gives him that pep talk that he was talking about, he then starts talking about, he said something about like, I don't like the heat around here at the minute, or I don't like the feeling. He's like, too many groups. He said it's like all this gang warfare stuff. He's like, too many groups. And you think, you started it, mate. Like, and I love the fact that he's going now. And then he says to Will, but you just focus on Davis, right? You let me worry about the Don Callis family. It's almost like, you know, don't worry. It's in hand. It's done. You can just focus on your match.
I love
We'll take care of it. Brilliant.
I loved as well in the match that Pac and that got involved, and it was like before they'd been playing this storyline where Pac and that and Claudio weren't too sure because they, there was shots in back where like, Moxley's tapping him on the back, but they're like, now like they're like, right, we're with you now, and then they're like sort of starting to accept Ospreay a little bit in the group, and they, and it's like. It's great, and I think he's going to be such a welcome addition to the Death Riders Ospreay. I don't know how long it's going to last for, but
that match was a banger, mate. Right up to that point, and then all of a sudden you got the interference just one after the other. A Don Callis family coming out, then a Death Rider, then a Don Callis family, then a Death Rider. And then even then, when you think it's all done, then there's this mass brawl going on. Moxie's been in and he sort of takes the last one out, and then they're brawling up the ramp and you think, oh, that bit's done. Right, we're now getting back to the finish of the match. Then all of a sudden, Carl Fletcher turns up. And he's got history of Ospreay, right?
I love Carl Fletcher.
Perfect sense. He takes Ospreay out. He's got the screwdriver. He's just about to do him in the head again because he's a nasty villain, mate. I mean, he's proved it before. Carl Fletcher has done some despicable things.
I love Carl Fletcher's character.
And then Takeshita all of a sudden appears, drags out Fletcher. They're brawling, right? So we know that storyline's not finished. They've got a match that's definitely going to be happening at Forbidden Door. And then, they brawl away. And then you get this spot where, I don't know, there was one part of me that actually thought that Ospreay was going to lose. He hit him with that mad pole driver, right? And it looked like he was like just upright. And, like, obviously, we're still talking about the neck and all that sort of stuff. He hit him with that move. And I just thought, that is a move that in any other match is a finisher. That is like 1, 2, 3, done. Then Ospreay kicks out, massive pop. The crowd are going mad. And how does he beat him? He's been beating people. He's been trying the armbar, hasn't he, the last few weeks, and it hasn't worked. And then he had to resort back to the hidden blade to finish people off. What does he beat him with this week?
The armbar.
The armbar. In it goes, slaps it in, tapping out within seconds. So again, it's another tool in the toolbox.
It's great as well because they're playing his character, where he's like, he's going away from the flashy stuff, and he's still got the shades of green in his clothes, but he's wearing a lot more darker shades of green. He's got the black, and there's nothing flashy about an armbar. That's a classic wrestling hold, Yeah. And he's not like, the hidden blade where all the crowd get behind it, or, like some of the cutter he does off the top rope. What I mean? It's like, a proper classic wrestling move, and it's probably more of a heel move, to be honest, than a baby face, isn't it? Like, heel finisher, definitely,
I thought this was another fantastic match. I mean, I thought the opening match of the show was brilliant. The MJF Roosh, and I thought, right, that was the one that was going to steal the show. But I actually think the Ospreay Mark Davis match was better. And I just, again, coming back to the show as a whole, mate, it's got a nice flow to it. Don't you feel that when you're watching it, it's got a nice flow to it? It's like match. Then there's a little backstage bit, and everything's tying in.
They just seem to as well. Like, I don't know.
100%.
I don't know for me, because obviously we know our Jerichos, our MJFs, our MVPs, our Don Callis. They're a great promo. We know this. But then you've got these people like inexperienced wrestlers like Roos, Mark Briscoe's experienced, but he's never been known for his promo. They're giving these bangers and solid promos, and I think there's someone giving advice backstage for me and coaching people. Do you know what I mean? And then it feels like, and then people are going off the cuff because everyone just seems to be. Everyone seems to be a solid. Most 90% of the roster just seem to be solid promos, don't they?
And I think that's where your Jerichos and that, mate, are doing behind the scenes.
Mick Foley's there now.
Mick Foley's, your MVPs, those guys must be giving a lot of input because of what they've done.
Like everyone, you never really hear bad promos, do you? I think everyone's solid now at promos, and there's definitely something going on behind the scenes. Yeah.
They're on a hell of a roll.
That Darby Allin promo he gave a few weeks ago when he won the title, when he said that was a solid promo. And Darby Allin, he's known for his mad stuff in the ring and his character, but his promos just seem to have got to get better and better now. And he's getting known as a promo guy as well now. So everyone for me just seems to be a solid promo. And maybe the people that aren't, you got Don Callis talking for a lot of people, so you look forward to these good pay-per-views, good promos every week. So you're not just got great action, with these great banger matches, you've got these great promos, you've got great character work, and it's like a storyline that goes in week in. And it's not just the storyline you're watching week in, week in. They seem to link things the other day. For instance, like last week, you know, we kept talking about it when they're in the medical room, and then Kenny Omega's in there, and he said, "Oh, you know, why'd you do this?" He went, and Moxley went, "Well, you done it." You know, and that was like 2 years ago. And he's brought it straight back and he's made you think, oh, shit, he did, didn't he? So it's like, they're not just doing week in, week out storytelling. They're bringing up stuff that happened 2 years ago.
Clever storytelling. It's definitely been thought about. Even little things like, coming back to what you said about guys that are being given a chance to cut more promos. Look at the difference in Andrade between where he is now in AEW and where he was in WWE.
I love this lover boy.
He's a different guy. He is like a Mexican Peaky Blinder, mate.
Yeah, he's
like,
cool.
How cool? He's fucking mate. He's super cool.
Yeah, he is super cool.
And again,
and he's a good-looking guy, isn't he? He's you know what I mean? He's like,
he's part of the Don Callis family, but he's made it very clear that he don't like MJF, that he does want the world title. And you know, and it all just feeds in. You know, it all feeds in. And I like his new little catchphrase, this how you know thing. He's always talking about, oh, you think you can beat me, blah 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 blah, and then he just finishes it off.
No, he's
how you know.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. You know, I was a bit worried when he first came back to AEW because I thought he'd been there once before, and he was one of these WWE guys that they talk about that I think just wanted to use them as a stepping stone, and they were only there while they were waiting to go back to WWE. And he's one that's gone back and I think really seen the difference. And he's flying at the minute, mate, because he's such a good in-ring performer as well.
Well,
I'm so pleased that they've given him a spot. He's an upper mid-card to me.
I think WWE knew that, and I don't think they fully wanted to get rid of him. I think it was because obviously him and Charlotte Flair were married, and like, you know, they had to get rid of one. They couldn't. I think they sacrificed him to keep Charlotte. To be honest with you, I don't think. I think, you know, I don't think if that would have happened, I think he would still be a WWE superstar. I don't think they wanted to get rid of him fully. For me, it just feels like it happened not long after they got divorced. So,
okay,